Welcome, everyone. So, if you're stepping into a new management role right now, or maybe you're just looking to fundamentally shift how you lead your team, you are in exactly the right place. Welcome to this explainer workshop on the regulated leader. I want to set a very clear, grounded tone for us today right out of the gate, because the first thing we absolutely need to acknowledge is that great CEOs, great managers, and great leaders, they're not born. They are developed. They're built through continuous learning, deep self-awareness, and intentional practice. But before we get into the actual mechanics of emotional intelligence, I want you to just pause for a second and reflect. What is the one trait you admire most in a leader? Think about the absolute best boss you've ever had. Was it their technical skill? Or, was it something else? Hold on to that thought, because we're going to unpack exactly how those standout traits are actually built. This right here shatters the biggest myth about stepping into a leadership role. So many new managers think they need to immediately dominate the room, be the loudest voice, and have a lightning-fast answer to every single problem that comes up. But the truth? The smartest leaders in the room usually speak the least. Emotional intelligence isn't loud. It is deeply, intensely observant. All right, so here is our roadmap for this explainer today. First, we'll look at the leadership friction. Second, intelligence beyond IQ. Third, we'll dive into your internal architecture and how emotions act as signals. Fourth, reading team energy. And finally, driving behavioral change. We're going to move logically from your own internal self-awareness straight out to systemic team performance. Let's jump in. Section 1. The leadership friction, breaking the myth. Okay, so most professionals think leadership is all about speaking confidently, making super fast decisions, and just having all the answers on tap. But honestly, that is just leading on a reactive autopilot. The reality is that the leaders people truly trust do something entirely different. They read between the lines. They're listening for what actually isn't being said out loud. They stay calm under pressure, bringing clarity to a situation instead of adding to the chaos. And they really notice the energy of the room. They literally create an environment of psychological safety simply by how they observe. Moving on to Section 2, Intelligence Beyond IQ, the triad. Think of your capability as a triad of intelligence. In the first column over there, we have your IQ, your intelligence quotient. This is your ability to learn, analyze information, and solve problems. Then over in the third column, you've got your SQ, or social intelligence. That's how you build relationships and influence others. But that middle pillar, EQ, emotional intelligence, that is your ability to understand and manage emotions, both your own and the people around you. Now, all three absolutely matter, but EQ is the true differentiator here. Why? Because leadership is fundamentally about people. Think about a manager trying to diffuse a heated argument between two lead developers over a product roadmap. That isn't solved by analyzing code. It's solved by validating both of their perspectives and navigating that conflict safely. EQ is the engine that allows you to build that level of trust. Section 3. Internal architecture. Emotions are signals. Okay, let's dive into this, because it is a massive paradigm shift. We really need to stop trying to simply stay positive all the time. As a new manager, your negative emotions are incredibly useful data. Fear isn't a weakness. It's showing you what you deeply value. Sadness? That's proof you still care about something. Anger is basically a flashing neon sign showing exactly what needs to change in your environment. And discomfort? That highlights what needs your immediate attention. Your emotions aren't problems to be suppressed. They are vital signals trying to give you the exact answers you're searching for. So instead of spending years trying to just turn these uncomfortable emotions off, the wisest leaders out there follow a highly actionable 4-step framework. Number 1, feel it. Just name the emotion honestly. 2, explore it. Ask yourself, what are you trying to tell me? Get curious about it. 3, learn from it. Find the underlying truth of the situation. And 4, use it. Make one better choice based on that new data. If you actually follow these steps instead of running from your feelings, your self-regulation will absolutely skyrocket. Section 4. Reading team energy, the organizational ripple. Now, what happens when you choose empathy over ego? Your self-regulation scales outward. You stop constantly reacting to disasters, and you start preventing them by reading the organizational ripples. A highly observant leader senses burnout long before a drop in performance ever shows up on a spreadsheet. They sense fake agreement in a meeting before it turns into real, messy project conflict. Like, think about Satya Nadella shifting Microsoft's culture from know-it-all to learn-it-all. When a major AI chatbot launch had some early public missteps, rather than punishing the team or aggressively defending his own ego, he publicly chose empathy. He framed it as a necessary learning moment, and he protected his engineers. He read the stress before the team broke down. And that is the profound difference between just managing people and actually understanding them. Adapting your communication style and really noticing these energy shifts allows you to realize something pretty profound. The quietest employee in the room is often the one carrying the heaviest load. And when you step in to help, it doesn't mean offering some grand cinematic speech. It sounds more like pulling them aside and simply saying, "Hey, I noticed you've been working late on this module, and I want to make sure you have the support you need. How can we rebalance this?" When you use your EQ to actively acknowledge that hidden burnout and redistribute the weight, you make your people feel seen, safe, and deeply valued. And for sure, that is how you build unbreakable trust. And finally, Section 5, Execution, Driving True Behavioral Change. This right here is absolutely crucial. There is a massive difference between emotional theater and behavioral change. On the left, we've got emotional theater. This is when a coaching session or a one-on-one with your team feels, well, really satisfying in the moment. The employee feels lighter, they have clarity, they had a great insight, but then they behave exactly the same way the very next day. As a leader, you have to move your team to behavioral change. You can't just be a good conversationalist or carry all the momentum for them. You have to hold your team accountable to making better daily choices and engineering actual measurable follow-through. So, to tie this whole shebang together, true leadership today isn't just about being technically brilliant or ruthlessly strategic. It requires a deeply human, emotional intelligence to actually drive results. The leaders who are going to rise the fastest over the next decade will be the ones who know how to make people feel three specific things: seen, safe, and valued. That is your real leadership advantage. Well, that brings us to the end of this explainer workshop, but I want to leave you with this final, really vital question to chew on. Look at your current team right now. Which emotional intelligence trait is your team missing? Is it the ability to read energy? Is it translating those great insights into actual behavioral change? Take these tools, step back into your role, and start building the regulated, observant leadership that your team deserves. Thanks so much for joining me today.